Good evening, I'm 14 First Alert meteorologist Arden Gregory. Sorry we're just a couple minutes late getting on tonight. My computer crashed at 8:55, but thankfully turning it off and turning it back on again seems to have done the trick. I think we're all grateful it's Friday, the computers included. So let's talk about these First Alert weather days. Now I want to preface this because I know a lot of the folks who watch here at 9 are folks who have a real interest in the weather, and some of that is due to maybe a heightened concern over the weather. A lot of people who watch this have weather anxiety and things like that. I want to start by saying that neither of these are alert days to get yourself real worked up around. Okay, this is a low-level risk, an isolated chance, but we do want to draw your attention to the fact that late in the day Saturday and again on Tuesday, we do have the possibility of some isolated to severe storms, or isolated strong to severe storms, I should say, that may be capable of producing damaging wind gusts. And when it's not storming, both of those days are going to be very hot, right on the verge or maybe even into the range of dangerously hot. So that's why we have these First Alert weather days. But we're going to get into all the details because we're going to talk heat, storms, and air quality too. We might see a little bit of that Canadian wildfire smoke that's been in the news this week making its way into the tri-state over the next few days. So earlier today, about 11 a.m., we started to see spotty rain popping up across the tri-state, and since then we've had very scattered showers and thunderstorms just kind of slowly drifting from west to east across the tri-state. We have had pockets of heavy rain, and some of these have produced a lot of lightning. Particularly, we had one down around Hopkins and Muhlenberg County earlier this afternoon. Then this evening around 6-7 o'clock, we had a thunderstorm move through Henderson and Davis County that produced a lot of lightning there in Owensboro. But now a lot of that has tapered off. We've still got rain and thunderstorms well off to our east out along I-65. But here at home, we're down to just a couple of very spotty rain showers still left out there. And that will continue to slowly drift off to the east as we go through the night tonight. But I wouldn't rule out a stray sprinkle somewhere in the tri-state through the overnight hours and even into Saturday morning. But I think we're done with the thunderstorms for tonight. As we get into Saturday, a big chunk of the day is going to be dry and even mostly sunny. I think we'll see quite a bit of sunshine tomorrow, which is part of why it's going to get so hot. But as we get into Saturday afternoon and evening, there is this isolated chance of a few showers and thunderstorms, and some of those storms could be strong or maybe even severe. I want to widen out the view as we get into Saturday night, though, and notice this line of showers and storms off to the north. That's along a cold front that's dipping down to the south. Initially, it looked like that would kind of approach the tri-state and then slide to the east. Now it looks like it may actually go through the tri-state and then slide to the east, more like along the Kentucky-Tennessee border. So as that cold front dips to the south Saturday night, it does seem like those storms are going to weaken as they move into the tri-state. How much is still a little uncertain. This model has them basically falling apart completely as they move into our region, and we don't get anything more than a spotty shower. If some of those storms manage to hold together, that's where you could again see this elevated threat of maybe an isolated damaging wind gust. So we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. We may not get any severe weather on Saturday, or we could get 2 or 3 different severe thunderstorms. Both are very possible. We're not expecting widespread severe weather either way, though. As this cold front dips to the south on Sunday, showers and storms will kind of refire along that front Sunday afternoon, but by then it'll be south of the tri-state. So I think the better chance for rain Saturday night would be on the northern end of the tri-state. The better chance of rain on Sunday would be on the southern end down into western Kentucky. But both times we're going to kind of miss out on most of the action. Just the timing of this is going to be perfect, where it's coming through here at a time of day where, or a time of night, I guess I should say, where the storms are going to be losing their energy as they move through here, and then they don't really regain their strength until they're already moved out of here. So that's where I don't see any kind of major severe weather threat for us. But depending on exactly where that front sets up and how quickly those storms weaken, there's that isolated chance, and we just don't want anyone to be caught off guard. So for today, we've been outlooked for general thunderstorms all day long, but like I said, I really think our thunderstorm threat is ending now, and we'll see just a little light spotty rain from this point on. Tomorrow, we are outlooked in this level 1 risk for an isolated severe storm. And like I said, that could be that very, very spotty chance of rain Saturday afternoon and evening, or it could be that line of storm Saturday night if it manages to hold together. But there's no guarantee that we would get severe weather from either of those, and we're certainly not expecting widespread severe weather from any of this. This is a very isolated threat. Sunday, again, most of the action will be down to our south, but we're still outlooked for the possibility of rain and maybe a rumble of thunder as we get into Sunday. As for that severe weather risk on Saturday, I do want to point out it's specifically for a threat of damaging winds. We're not concerned about flooding, hail, or tornadoes from this. It's just an isolated damaging wind gust. But still, if we get a warning, sirens start to go off, we just don't want that to catch anybody off guard. So we want to give you the heads up that that is a possibility from Saturday afternoon and evening into Saturday night. Temperatures, you can definitely tell where the rain has moved through more recently. Got a lot of folks in the mid to upper 70s, then where it stayed a little drier, still holding on to the low 80s. It is 83 right now in Evansville, but in Owensboro, where it rained very recently, sitting at 75. Most of us are going to fall back somewhere into the low to mid 70s by the end of the night tonight. Then tomorrow, in addition to the storm chances, it's going to be hot. It's going to be just as humid as today, but even hotter temperatures. And so when you combine that, you're looking at highs, actual temperatures in the low to maybe even mid 90s, but the feels like temperature could get as high as 100 to 105. And anything 105 or over is where you're considered into that danger zone. So we're not talking about widespread dangerous heat, but for a period of time tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be right at the cusp there where you really need to be drinking lots of water and taking things easy. Maybe just don't do any real strenuous activity during the hottest part of the day tomorrow, right? If you got something you got to get done on Saturday, I understand. We've all got grass to mow. Do it in the morning or do it in the evening. Try to avoid that hottest part of the day, right? So I mentioned then we've got a very, very brief cool down because again, those storms Saturday night are from a weak cold front. It's not going to pack much of a punch, but it's going to bring the heat and the humidity down just a few degrees, just enough to get us out of that danger zone, right? Heat index around 100 Sunday and Monday, but then the heat kicks back in. Tuesday is going to be very steamy with a heat index as high as 100 to maybe even 110. Then the cold front moves in. So we've got all this hot, humid air in place on Tuesday. Then this cold front comes in, and as it runs into that hot, humid air, as those collide, it's going to kick up showers and thunderstorms. Now, the exact timing on this is still very uncertain. Some of the weather models are showing us getting almost no rain on Tuesday, keeping it very dry. This model has the potential for 2 rounds of rain, one in the middle of the day Tuesday out ahead of that front, then another round Tuesday evening as the front actually pushes through. So we'll just have to wait and see as things get closer. We tend to get a clearer picture of what to expect, but as of right now, there's still a lot of uncertainty on the exact timing of how Tuesday will play out. But the point is, it's going to be very hot and humid. We're going to have this hot, humid air in place. A cold front runs into that. It's probably going to kick up some showers and some thunderstorms. Then as that cold front pushes down to the south, it takes the rain with it. Our wind direction changes. Notice the blue arrows here. Cooler, drier air pushes in from the north. That's where, again, I'm concerned about some Canadian wildfire smoke, though. If our winds are coming from the north, pulling cooler, less humid air down, it's also going to be pulling that Canadian wildfire smoke down, and we could see that Sunday and Wednesday as well. As for our risk of severe weather on Tuesday, I really think the focus for any severe storm chances will probably be east of the tri-state. I think from about Louisville to Cincinnati, I'd be much more concerned about on Tuesday. Here at home, we're kind of right on the tail end of this here, where we might get an isolated strong to severe storm, but like I said, We're still several days out on this. The timing is still getting figured out. The exact placement is still getting figured out. So it's possible that this risk for severe weather could slide and increase for the tri-state. It could also push farther that way and get pulled out of the tri-state. So I've added this first alert weather day just to give you a heads up that, first of all, Tuesday is going to be the hottest day we've had probably since the heat wave that we got back before 4th of July. It is going to be really steamy out there on Tuesday. Then we've got this cold front moving in, and that combination makes me nervous that maybe we could see just an isolated chance of severe weather. I'm not talking about an outbreak. I'm not talking about widespread severe weather, but isolated strong to severe storms certainly possible on Tuesday, and that risk could go up or down depending on how things start to shape out as we go through the next few days. So this is really just kind of your heads up. We don't have a ton of details yet on Tuesday, but I know it's going to be hot. I know we got a cold front coming in, and there's a good chance that that's going to kick up some rain and maybe some thunderstorms too. Behind that, though, things get a lot more comfortable. We get a break from the heat, the humidity, and the rain chances as that cooler, drier air from the north moves in. Highs will only be in the low to mid 80s then through the middle and end of next week. I mentioned earlier that risk of the Canadian wildfire smoke. The 2 days I'm watching most closely about that are Sunday and Wednesday because both of these alert days are storms produced by a cold front passing through. So again, as that cold front comes down from the north, it's pulling some of that northerly air down with it, which is why we see a little dip in our temperatures, but that could also pull some of that Canadian wildfire smoke in. So especially for the northern end of the tri-state and points to our north, like places like Terre Haute, I think would probably see some of that smoke. I'm unsure exactly how far south it's going to get. It may or may not reach all the way down into western Kentucky, but I think certainly southwest Indiana, we need to be keeping a lookout on Sunday. If that wildfire smoke dips down far enough, sometimes we've had it in the past where it's way up in the upper levels of the atmosphere and just gives the sky kind of that hazy look, but it's not really affecting us. If it comes down lower into the part of the air that we breathe, at that point we could end up with an air quality alert for that smoke on Sunday. And again, next week, that cold front coming in on Tuesday, I think it's going to sweep all the way through the tri-state. So part of the reason we see this bigger drop in our temperatures is it's pulling a stronger round of cool, dry air from all the way up in Canada, deep down all the way through the tri-state and to areas to our south as well. So Wednesday is the day that, this is 4 days out. A lot could change with the conditions in Canada right now, but they have more than 100 wildfires burning out of control right now. I'm not totally buying that they would get that put out over the next 4 days. So if those wildfires are still burning and producing as much smoke as they are right now, then I think we could maybe see an air quality alert on Wednesday. But again, that's very dependent on how the firefight goes up in Canada for this. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let's check in on the comments here. Oh, we got a lot tonight. Good evening, Laura, Jeanette, Ricky, Suzanne, Holly, Tony. William says they just got a trace of rain over at Bosse Field today. Yeah, it was very, very scattered, as it has been all week. Yesterday, I mentioned Evansville got 1/100th of an inch of rain, but then I had a report in Savah in Posey County that they had more than 2 inches of rain. So, it's just really luck of the draw there. You may have even noticed if you were out driving this evening that you would go over an area where the pavement's wet, and then just a mile up the road, you can tell it hasn't rained all day. It's very, very scattered. Yeah, Laura says they got a lot of rain. Carolyn said it rained for maybe 3 minutes there. Good evening, Zach. Sari. Gail asked about the smoke from Canada. Hope I answered that for you, Gail. Good evening, Cheyenne. Yeah, Sari is talking about Saturday. Again, I think during the day, especially Saturday's storm threat is pretty isolated. Many of you, I know it's an alert day, but many of you may stay dry all day Saturday. That's a possibility. But if you get a thunderstorm, there's that potential that it could be strong or even severe. So I wouldn't necessarily cancel any plans on Saturday over this chance of storms. It's pretty isolated, but just know if a storm pops up, if you see a thunderstorm off in the distance, maybe you're checking the radar on your First Alert app, you know there's a storm headed your way. Obviously, even if it's not severe yet, pack it up and take things inside if you're out at the pool or something. But as long as you're staying weather aware, as long as you've got somebody keeping an eye on the skies, keeping an eye on the radar, paying attention to whether or not it's thunderstorming in or around your area, I think you're fine to go about your day on Saturday. We just want you to be, a little more alert to the weather around you that day, just because there is that potential for an isolated strong to severe storm. Carolyn, Catherine, yes, Catherine says we need to cool down. Yes, we do. Sari says it rained for 5 minutes today. Yeah, I didn't make it very far. Zach is asking about severe weather threats. I'm not really sure where this is coming from because we're not in a 2 out of 5. On Saturday, he's asking, is a 2 out of 5 slight risk for severe weather a low-end severe thunderstorm threat? It would be scattered at that point. You're not up into numerous or widespread storms, but a few severe storms would typically be possible in a level 2 threat, Zach. And good evening to you as well, Nancy. Taking a quick check of what July has brought us so far, we have hit the 90s the past 4 days. I think tomorrow will be today was the hottest day so far this week. I think tomorrow will be just as hot, maybe even hotter. So that's where we're concerned that the heat could get right up to the brink of dangerous tomorrow afternoon. We have had very scattered rain the past few days. Not a lot of it has gone over the Evansville Regional Airport. That's where our official rain gauge sits. It just got a brief bit of rain yesterday, and that's been it. Even though it rained in other parts of Evansville, it just has not rained at the airport, which is where it has to rain for the rain gauge to pick it up. So with this scattered rain, it's very, very varied like that. And so in total, we've had a little more than 6/10 of an inch of rain in Evansville. So we're running a couple inches short, both for the month and for the year. But again, that's not the case for everyone. Some of you got 2 inches of rain just yesterday or earlier today if you got caught under one of those thunderstorms that was kind of slow moving. This is just, this is what's going to go down in the record books, but I know it does not reflect the scenario in every part of the tri-state. Our average temperature is still running about 2 degrees warmer than normal. Some of that is from the heat wave that we started the month with, but some of it's from the little heat wave that we're dealing with this week. We're not quite up to dangerously hot so far this week, but we have hit the 90s the past 4 days. Our lows have been in the low to mid 70s instead of the upper 60s like they normally would be. So our days have been hot and humid. Our nights have been warm and muggy. So that can very easily, knock that average temperature up by just a couple degrees. It's still going to be very hot and humid through the rest of this week and into the start of next week. Like I said, Saturday and Tuesday, I'm worried it's going to be hot and humid enough that we could get up into that danger zone where, especially during the afternoon, you need to be very careful about how you're hydrating, how you're spending your time, especially if you work outside. Those are days that you need to be taking extra breaks, extra water, go cool off in the AC for a little bit. We don't want anybody to end up in a little bit of trouble there over that heat. Then the cold front moves through Tuesday. We really have a nice little break from the heat and humidity to end next week. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday all look beautiful, mostly to partly sunny. Lower, not low, it's still, Evansville in July, so manage your expectations on that. But lower humidity, certainly lower temperatures, and with that lesser humidity, we also see those daily rain chances, these pop-up storms that we get every afternoon. That's going to go away because those storms are not going to have that energy to feed off of. So just in general, really, really pleasant through the middle and end of next week. Beyond that, as we get into next weekend up through the end of the month here, the general trend does show near to maybe slightly above average precipitation. So while I do think we'll probably be dry Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, beyond that, we'll probably start to see some rain chances creeping back in and some heat and humidity too. A break from the heat like that in July, it wasn't going to last very long. It does seem like the more extreme heat will be off to our west in the plains states, but here locally we're kind of right at the cusp of average to maybe slightly above average. It'll be hot, but it'll be kind of typical July heat. We're not tracking another major heat wave or anything like that, but those lower 80s with lows in the low 60s, that's going to feel downright refreshing after the heat wave we've had this past week, and that's only going to last a couple days. Then we'll start to heat back up again. All right, one more check of the comments here. John is asking the difference between scattered and isolated. So let me think of a way to visually, I'm trying to think if I've got a way to visually even just show that to you, because those are terms that we use a lot. So let's just look at what it was doing earlier today, kind of walk you through the day, and that would actually be able to show it pretty well. So earlier this afternoon, if I can kind of drag this along in time, earlier this afternoon, like 4 o'clock, okay, maybe let's push it a little later, I don't know, 4 o'clock was probably good. So 4 o'clock-ish, right? We've got multiple showers and storms kind of over the tri-state, but it's not widespread, right? There's a lot of places where it wasn't raining. So this to me would be kind of right at the cusp between the two, but I think I would describe this as scattered, right? We've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 showers and storms kind of scattered over the tri-state, right? But then as we got later into the night, that rain became more and more isolated. So then by like 6:30-ish, most of the tri-state's dry, and we really just have one little storm left at that point. So we've gone from 5 or 6 different storms kind of sprinkled all over the tri-state to really just one lone thunderstorm that's left. So that's how I would kind of expect you to visualize it. When I'm talking about isolated, I mean 1, maybe 2. So when I say, you know, an example would be if everybody's going to get rain, but our severe storm chances are very isolated. That would mean the rain might be widespread, but we're probably only going to have 1 or 2 out of those several thunderstorms that would be severe. If I'm saying scattered, that would mean, you know, probably more like 3 to 5 severe thunderstorms end up popping up. And, you know, don't hold me to those exact numbers, but that's just kind of how I want you to visualize it. If we're talking about rain chances in general, then yeah, same kind of deal where we would have 1 or 2 showers and storms popping up. That would be very isolated. But something like earlier this afternoon where maybe half to a little less than half of the tri-state is getting some rain, but a lot of folks aren't, and it's kind of mixed all over, that would be a very scattered chance of rain. So I hope that answers your question there, John. And yeah, Caroline says that they got some heavy rain and thunderstorms on the north side of Jasper. Yeah, those storms were very scattered all over. In a lot of places it didn't rain for very long, but there were several spots that got rain at some point. It started raining at 11 a.m. and is just now wrapping up. So in, you know, 10, 11 hours of rain persistently being somewhere over the tri-state, a lot of you got rain, but nowhere did it rain for the whole 10 hours, right? So it's been very scattered across the whole tri-state tonight. There's one last look at the forecast. Again, Saturday and Tuesday, both very hot, very humid, with this isolated chance of storms. Again, not everyone's going to see that rain. Many of you may stay dry most, if not the entire day. But if a storm develops, there's that potential that it could be strong or maybe even severe with damaging winds really being the main threat, that there could be some very strong winds within those thunderstorms. Some of them, especially Saturday afternoon, could also maybe be packing some heavy rain and some lightning, which would pose a danger to anyone caught outside. Behind the cold fronts bringing us those storms on Saturday and Tuesday, both Sunday and Wednesday, I'll be watching very closely the air quality, as we could have those cold fronts as they pull cooler, drier air in behind them. With that cooler, drier air is coming from Canada. Could also pull some wildfire smoke from Canada down in with it as well. So those are kind of the main things that we're watching over the next few days. But aside from the wildfire smoke, middle and end of next week looks really nice. So I'm hoping that smoke doesn't mess with our air quality too much, so that we can all still be able to be outside enjoying that nicer weather. All right. I'm going to get off of here. I'll have an updated look at your forecast on 14 News tonight at 10. And Robinson Miles is hard at work putting together all of your latest news headlines. So I hope you'll join us at 10. Byron Douglas will have your forecast tomorrow. And everybody have a great rest of your Friday night and a great weekend.